I would say we have a long one for us today, but that would be a little redundant, I think, given the channel name. We are going for a no edits on this one. And usually I go like minimal edits, but I think it's time just to lean into what I think the nature of this video. I don't know about this channel or not, but um, it's because this one is going to be challenging, and for a lot of reasons. And I think I'd rather preserve the integrity of that challenge by just doing a one and done, here we go, full experience. So the pauses that you're accustomed to by now, dear viewer, are probably going to be a little bit longer. So just enjoy them for what it's worth. And I'll try to put in chapters a little bit. I don't know how long we're going to go, but we're going to go for as long as I feel like I need to, because this one is going to be a big one. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to take a long time to get where I'm going, in part because I don't yet know where I'm going, because I've crafted my formula for making videos over quite a length of time. I've gotten better at it and what my style is and what my style means to me and why it's my style. And I'm confident now in my desire and ability to paint an emotional picture, which is the approach I've always loved taking with stories that I've written, um, and allow the story to develop and unfold as the words come through my fingertips, and to present a video in a similar way, where there's a very large body of emotionality right now that I'm not really able to sift out on my own, or I can make progress. There's just some stuff to untangle, I suppose. And, journaling would be one thing, or just a lot of rumination and like meditations. There's a lot of ways to kind of get your head in order. And for this one, I kind of feel like sorting these things out in video form, because I want to be able to look back on this video and just see what it looks like when I untangle something pretty vast. But also, I want a distinct record of a first, because you don't always get to remember like when something's happening for the first time, and this is a first time thing. Uh, yeah, we're gonna be a little all over the place. That's totally fine. Because some of where my career as Phineas Former started was buying into myself. It's a concept I haven't really talked too much about lately because I haven't needed to. And it came into play more when VTubing and working on YouTube and presenting myself was more of a challenge. And buying virtual reality gear was akin to listening to myself, like, hey, this is the right move, this is where we have to head next. Oh, I don't know if that's the right thing. And so I got, a VR system, but not a Quest Pro. I only got a Quest 3 because it was less affordable, or no, it was cheaper. And then I wasn't spending $1,000 on what if I don't actually love VR. So I did buy in, but like a little bit. And I do that pretty frequently where I buy in, but like a little bit at a time. And usually I get happier and I'm met with more success when I just go all in, when I buy in finally, when I fully go in. And so too it is with Videocraft. And this is the first time that I'm leaning all of the way into my formula when I have a lot to untangle and unpack, and there's so many multitudes right now, and I'm busy. Okay. And I'm tired of having all of it just swimming around in my head. There's a few things that bring this video up in particular. And it's gonna be a lot. I don't know if you can tell from my intonation. But it's gonna be a bit of a dour one at times, and we are gonna deal with some subject matter that's gonna be a little bit like, oh wow, what really? Why this? What is the furry VTuber talking about this right now? So if you're in this one's gonna be a little bit of I actually don't know for sure. But it's going to be a more somber video, and I'm sure we'll giggle every now and then. So if you're in a good mood and you want to stay in a good mood, whatever. But if you're in a bad mood and you want company, but then also I'm not in a bad mood, and we're just gonna kind of see what that's like a little bit. Yeah, that was a spot where I would have paused. No edits. I feel like you guys should actually get the same music that I'm having on in the background, so let me fix that real quick too. Alright, and that should be good. And hopefully the volume's good enough. I don't want to like mess with it too much. I'll be bummed out if it's the wrong volume level, but we'll go with it. Yeah, should be good. Alright, so maybe some edits. And yes, it is going to be a very scattered experience for us today, because there's so much of a tangle right now. I don't know where to start, because there's a ton of places to start. So during the initial parts of this video, it's going to feel like I'm all over the place, extremely static-minded, scatterbrained, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. Because there is so many places to start, you have to kind of start everywhere. And so I guess as the video begins, I'll start with I decided to stop drinking on accident. 5 days ago. And no like edibles or marijuana either. Just I decided to hit sobriety, and I didn't realize how much of not that it's been a problem, but when I come to moments of deep tanglement like I'm in now, my instinct is I'm tired of all of this swimming around in my head. I'm going to take a substance and chillax, as they say. And I decided to try stop doing that, and then as the days go on, everything within me is like, let's have a drink. Let's have a drink. You want to? We have marijuana. You want an edible? We have that. We've got gummies. Let's go. You want a drink? We have a drink. And there's a lot of things that go into that sobriety, and I just hinted on that I'm sober now, and I didn't realize, I don't know the last time I've gone 5 days without having a drink or an edible or something. For a while. So that's interesting, but we're not even going to linger on that. I just brought that up, dropped it off to you, and now let's move on to the next one. The title of today's video is Valentine's Day, like the date, 2/14/25. In keeping with the other two videos also, because I like this being an unclickable experience. So this video comes to you through strict intentionality, which is how the video also comes to me. Is I bring it comes, this is an intentionality zone, and thank you for joining me in it. But it is Valentine's Day, which is kind of the chief reason that I'm here, because, I've just had a lot going on in my head. Because it is Valentine's Day, but it is also the 2-year anniversary of deciding to uproot my life, move out of state, leave behind all of the negative influences in my life, and start a new life. And this is the first Valentine's Day I've been single for like over a decade. Because this time last year, I was separated, but not yet. Like, I was still technically married. The divorce papers hadn't been finalized yet. And that was about 10 months ago or so. So, in just the 10-month span, and Phineas Former was born the day after those papers were finalized. We might get there in this video, or we might not. But it was very much new beginnings, it's a new me, baby. And the story I do want to tell at some point in this video, but we're going to be bouncing around to different topics, man, so just get ready for one heck of a ride. But I'll... And so some of the ruminations of today were, oh, it's Valentine's Day, and it's the first one being single, and this time last year I was, separated, so I was physically single, but also just still married to the wrong person out of state, So not the same. And some of what I was not dealing with, but at work today I was thinking through, oh, Valentine's Day, and I'm single, what should I do? Should I go and mingle and go to a bar? And then I accidentally quit drinking this week. So, not gonna go out. And the silly thing there is, it feels a lot like I chose a bad week to quit drinking, because all of these things are just kind of like coming up at the same time, and this would be an excellent time to drink. But part of me wonders if this stuff is coming up maybe because I chose to stop drinking, and it's time to start processing a little bit of this stuff, opposed to, drinking because it's inconvenient to handle. But I don't even think it has to be an inconvenient thing, and thankfully I have a platform on an outlet to be able to help express some of these things. But I was thinking through, as far as it being Valentine's Day, if I want to go out and get on Grindr and see if anyone wants to hook up. But I don't love leaving things to chance. So if I go out and no one don't end up hooking up with anyone, then is the night a bust? And do I have a fallback plan? And I didn't want to have to do that for my first Valentine's Day single in over a decade. So then do I just want to like go home? Do I want to like try and like arrange like a VR date? And that just immediately seems like a cool idea in theory, but of course not. Like, that's just not what's going on here. And I fall back a little bit to some of my typical behaviors and thought processes, none of which were really working today, but if I don't have anyone to take me on a date, what does it look like to take myself out on a date? Should I go see a movie, get a nice dinner for myself? And if I'm not spending money going out to a bar, maybe I could like buy a game for myself or something, and kind of have a nice night that way. And I almost bought myself cookie dough at the store, and I chose not to because I was in a little bit of a pissy mood as I left work, and I almost bought the cookie dough, but then as I approached the frozen section to pick up some cookie dough, and it felt like cookie dough of lies. I took a couple steps towards it, and the cookie dough in my heart tasted like ash, and that's no manner of cookie dough to have. And then even if I got home and I was excited for the cookie dough, I would know that it was born from a space of ash, because it's just, I'm an emotional lad. So, you know, cookie dough's out of the question, unfortunately. And a lot of how even cookie dough couldn't withstand the power of my emotions today is because there's not a better way, because it's important to treat your audience with respect. And I haven't lit on this one. We're going to be dealing with shoot. Dang it. There's not a good way to say it, so I just gotta say it. Yeah, so before getting married, I had the reason I ended up getting divorced is because I married the wrong person. And the reason I married the wrong person is it was like two unhealthy people found each other, and there was a big codependent mess, and that was just a rough time. Lasted for about 8 years before I pulled my head out of my ass. And then the reason that I got married to the wrong person is because I was a little bummed out, because the love of my life had committed suicide 36 hours after proposing to me, which was a tremendous disappointment, and then did not set me up for extreme amounts of success in life. There's just there's not a better way to say that. And so there is not a more polite way to say it, and I just gotta say it because that's some of what also I'm dealing with a little bit here, and it's this general body of emotion I am working on unpacking, because I've come to love being Phineas Former. I can say that pretty safely, pretty easily. That's actually pretty easy money. I love being Phineas Former. I love, you know, moving around the cat, the perambulation, pink shoulder, blue leg, dynamite. Loving it. It's awesome. All I could really think about today actually was putting on the trackers and Phineas Former and making this video, honestly. I just didn't think through the challenge of some of the specifics of the subject matters that I would like to bring up, but that goes back to a little earlier of buying in, where I'm dealing with a complex subject matter inside of my heart right now, and to buy in to the platform I've crafted wherein I can express myself and say my words with full integrity to later be able to receive my own words with integrity. And to utilize the system I've crafted over the past 10 months to its fullest, this is the first video of the fullness. And as I lighted on ever so briefly, once, a few months ago, but it's been solidified increasingly, and only in the past couple of weeks has it really been nailed down that I would not go back and change anything because I wouldn't want to sacrifice or risk messing up where I'm at now. That's never been the case. Even a handful of months ago. You know, that's easy territory. Undo everything, all the friendships I've made, the connections that I've had, reset it all, go back to have another chance or an opportunity to be with the love of my life. Easy money. You go to hell and back for that opportunity. Are you kidding me? And grappling with a very recent understanding that I'm content. My baseline of days these days is satisfied. And my basic needs are met. I can come home and be a cat whenever I want and use this platform to express myself in ways I've never been able to before. I made a new in-real person friend recently and saw myself being Phineas in the real world as I've learned to express myself here and then observe what it's like. And I know the intentionality behind every one of the videos that I make. So I'm observing myself when I'm telling lies or when I'm skirting around the truth. What do I look like and how do my words hit me when I know I was lying? And when I know I was afraid of bringing something up, but I bring it up anyway, and then I get to be proud of myself for saying something that's difficult, and I get to know what that looks like and how it hits. And with this friend, it was yesterday, had this conversation, and it was the first real talk I'd had, I think, since 2018. I had a friend, I made a new friend in 2017, 2018, that we could be like real. We had just real talks, we were pretty close. And that is the last friend I've made. And it was, and she was the only other person I've had like a real talk with since 2018. So I'm 7 years rusty to being real with people. And I am officially 1 day rusty, one hour, 30 minutes, however long this video is, because I choose to be real here. A little bit new, but neat, because I'm content for my baseline, and it's what helped me accidentally choose sobriety, I think. It just kind of happened. Because I want to be present for my life. For as many pieces of my life as I can. I want to be here for it. And I have never wanted to be sober. My head sucks. My head is a disaster zone. It's a nightmare. There's so much inside of it all of the time, and the reason I have so many words in all of my videos is because my head has so many words. And when I'm lucky, sometimes I can put them into a video, and then they stay in the video. And then I can watch it later, and I'm like, oh wow, I had those words? You're damn right you had those words. It's a disaster in here. Complete nightmare. Oh my god. It does not stop. And alcohol fixes all of your problems. It just does. That's not a joke. You have a head like mine? Yes, please. I'll have one of each. And I'm actually like I'm good. Because I've developed enough tools and coping mechanisms and mental gymnastics and understanding of the depths of various emotional pathways as they relate to various bodies of emotionality to be able to emotionally jujitsu my way through whatever stuff comes up. For a while, anger was a really hard one for me. I've learned how to handle anger. When I get really angry, I know how to handle that. And I used to, about 2000, honestly, fairly, not, I don't know how recently, but I still just had a lot of anger issues that I didn't know how to handle. I was really overwhelmed, and anger was hard for me. And then like depression, sorrow, depression, and that's different than sorrow. That was like the first one that it feels like going home. I love being sad. It's one of the best things, one of the very best things. And maybe some of the stuff there is you have to be alive to feel sad. It's a very pure emotion. And the more sad you feel, the more human you are. And it's a little bit, it's not super related, I'm sure, but I like hot sauce a lot. And I joke that it's just nice to feel something, you know? And then people are like, oh, ha ha ha, but they're laughing a little bit nervously because it's like, does he mean it or does he not mean it? And I assure you, I mean it with all of my heart. Yeah. But sorrow, I can just connect really keenly to that. And maybe it's just because I felt it a whole bunch. Joy is the hardest one for me. That one hurts pretty badly. Just I've been happy before. Don't recommend it. Anyway. I do think maybe let's get back to topic just a little bit, though. Just a little bit, because I'm loving the kind of unstructured, loosey-goosey of the video. A video with proper integrity, actually. Here's the subject matter, might be a little bit rough. We'll bounce here, we'll bounce around there. And, you know, it's kind of fun having one of these videos. The first of these videos, really. But a little structure is going to be okay, I think. Because remember, we're going for a big fullness of emotional picture here, and there's still a lot to untangle. So we're gonna bounce around a little bit more. We're gonna head back to that conversation with that friend that I had yesterday. Kind of help put a few things in perspective, because realizing that I had the first real talk in 7 years. a little bit damning. That's you feel a little bit like, wow, maybe I should have had, you know. That's a lot of time to not have a real talk. Anyway. So that was a bummer to realize, but then it was also immediately really cool to recognize that it had happened again, and that being Phineas Former had helped me learn what it is to express myself emotionally, to then be able to engage with that circumstance and connect with a human in the real world live. And I saw it happening. I saw my gesticulation, and I saw my own head turn the wheels, and my thoughts, like when I'm making a video and I'm trying to get out kind of a chunky thought, but I'm excited about it and I'm too excited, so I have to like put the words together, and like my body language, I kind of like shuffled around a little bit, and I was trying to express what the thought was, and I like, it was 1-to-1. It was just, I could have been making a video and the energy of making a video is I'm in the living room talking like a doofus to nobody with all of my trackers on and all that. No one judging me, no one looking around, no one cares, and just being myself. And I was, for at least the first time in 7 years, but I think the first time in 10 years or so, which is when I dealt with death. When my fiance killed himself. I'm gonna try not to be too blunt too frequently, but some things I don't want to dance around too much. It's kind of fun to dance around, in, like, it's fun to say, like, silicone sculpture and applying ministrations to yourself, which is something that, there's been a drought in the apps, so that is something that I've been doing, and it's fun to dance around, you know, sexual things, be playful about that, but some things, you know, it's fine to say bluntly. That was about 10 years ago. And with that, I guess I'm just saying it's been about 10 years since I've been myself with another person, which was a really cool thing to realize, and definitely emblematic of my growth and where I'm at now and where I've been in the past, and there's a lot that goes into that. Really cool to see of myself. I make sure I drink some water. And now that I've had my water, we're gonna hop a little bit more. And we're gonna go to... We're gonna go to the zone where I was pretty bummed out, and then I decided to get married about it, which is not an excellent way to deal with grief. So that's just gonna be my little tip to you. Do not get married. In such a circumstance, it's a negative thing to do, as it turns out. And, you know, the first, like, 2 years of that marriage were, like, alright. And then it started to get bad, and then it started to get, like, really, really bad. At the end of it, I was drinking in the supply closet at work. And that was shortly before I decided to, leave that life. And that was 2 years ago, when I made that decision, today. So that's just kind of a baseline of, like, started in I'm grieving, and then ended in drinking in the supply closet at work. And then there was stuff in the middle. That's just a timeline of things for you, I suppose. And while I was in this very unhealthy relationship, it was clear to me at a certain point. I mean, nothing was clear to me for a very long time. But my emotional needs were not being met. And what would it look like instead of seeking support from an external source? What would it look like to be able to emotionally support yourself and to celebrate your own successes and to define your own successes, because the world isn't doing that for me. And as much as I had tried to cultivate a life of let's pump each other up and let's build successes together and let's make life something fantastic, that communal, the attempt at that communal building of success was not met. And so learned how to live a deeply internal world. At a certain point, learned to keep my dreams and ambitions deeply secret. They just weren't safe spoken out loud. But what would it look like if I don't have anyone to take me on dates, or buy me nice things, or surprise me with a treat? Then can it be possible to surprise yourself with a treat? Like, certainly you can't, like, surprise yourself. You can surprise yourself, actually, by turning into a VTubing kitty cat and actually buying into your hobbies, passions, and spiritual drivers like I am right now. You can surprise yourself by doing that, I suppose. But typically you can't surprise yourself with a pint of ice cream, you know? But what would it look like if you could? Because I needed an approximation of that at the time, back before I even realized that my marriage was suffocating me and I had to leave. All I knew was like, man, I feel awfully suffocated right now and unsupported. Oh, gosh. I did pretty gosh darn good. I just want to take a break and say that I did pretty gosh darn good. For where I've come from, for, like, that little kiln of emotional, like, I did pretty good under all the circumstances, and while I'm trying to support other things in life, how can I eke out the willpower to theorize what it would be like to also support myself? I'm a little resilient boy, man. That's a lot. So good job me on that one. And another reason why I'm happy to be making this video is because I've never actually really spoken to myself. Good job for making it through all of that. And you know I turned into a VTubing kitty cat on the internet, which could be the worst case scenario. It probably is. But you know, things could be worse. Maybe. I think actually, hell if I know. Hell if I know. But for a really long time, all that I had while I was trying to deal with grief in an unsupportive environment and trying to support said environment and trying to find my way in a pretty dodgy part of life, the thing that consistently got me through was trying to find a better way, because something in life wasn't making sense. That much I knew. For a really long time I didn't know hardly anything, but I knew that things should not be as challenging as they are. Life doesn't have to be this difficult. Or at least it shouldn't have to be. And I spent a ton of time in my internal world, which was an absolute mess, if it was even defined. Trying to define it, trying to untangle it, trying to figure things out, because those ruminations were some of the only things that helped keep me sane. Or at the very least was helping to define my insanity or something like that, right? But that's the types of ruminations that have brought me here, and the things I say in these videos are the things that got me to this point in the first place. And they're pretty much the only things that I even know, because for 10 years, that's all that I could ever think about constantly. And because I had been dealing with being radically alone for a minimum of 10 years, radically alone. But then even before then, because I have two brothers who have special needs. And then there were also like two miscarriages and an even younger brother who also had special needs, three brothers who have Down syndrome. But then he died really, really young. Young enough that I don't remember. Health complications. So, single parent working, and then it's just mom taking care of 4 kids. And then there was a 5th one that died. So she's dealing with grief of her own, which I had no understanding of. And then I'm like a middle child, which itself has its own problem. Like middle child syndrome exists, apparently. So that was an upbringing of emotional scarcity. And I felt pretty alone growing up. And the entire life's mission was someday I would like to feel unalone. And spent a great majority of my life, and then I'm gay, so that's one reason why my marriage didn't work out, is I married a girl. Not the best way to deal with grief. Goodness gracious. So then there was like the religious household thing. So I was in deep repression all through high school. I don't really remember being a kid, because I didn't even come online until after high school. I feel like I missed damn near all of that. And it wasn't until after I graduated high school I fell in love with a boy head over heels, and I realized like, oh, I'm going to have to rethink a few things here. Turns out I'm gay. And there were tons of signs looking back on it, but holy cow. Just talk about feeling alone, I suppose. And so then you're trying to figure out your way with like sexuality, and then like religion, and then your family, and my core safety net at the time. All of like my best friends were also, because we grew up in the same neighborhood, so we all shared the church together. And they all went on religious missions right about the time that I had fallen head over heels in love with a boy. And my very best friend in the whole world, I wrote him in a letter, not like a Dear John letter, but I just had to come out to my best friend who was in the Czech Republic serving the Lord. And I said, oh, hey, by the way, I'm gay. And I guess apparently I gave him a crisis of identity for a little bit, or a crisis of faith. Because like, wait, that's not part of the doctrine, but Phineas is an excellent person. So he's not going to hell. And like, I guess like, oops, he's fine. It turned out golden, and he's swell. We are swell. He's one of the friends I did not lose in the divorce, which is magnificent. And through all of this, I wanted to not be alone anymore. And then for about a year cumulative, because we're gonna have to name the boy in particular, and we are going to call him Nightmare, which is fun because he was a little nightmare. And don't commit suicide, that's a bummer. So that's a nightmare thing to do. But also that was his favorite character from My Little Pony. And so that just feels a little bit fitting, and we need a name. So, because I had known him for about 6 months, and then life circumstances, and then we ended up like, the timing was poor. So then we split apart, and we came back together, and then we had about another 6 months, about 5 months. And I did not feel alone during that time. And then it's been pretty alone since, up until a few weeks ago, really, as things start solidifying in place, and the crazy harebrained scheme of this starts working, taking effect, and no longer feeling alone. not because I found a friend group, or I found my tribe, or I found Jesus. Like, no. I found myself. Oops. And the whole time I was just following along my little ruminations, my ideas, my maybe things don't have to be this hard. What if you could prop yourself up and celebrate your own successes and define your own life path? What if? And rather by accident, 10 years of grueling work doing that, like foot down, nose, grindstone, not even like one step at a time, but baby, like we're living life by milliseconds here. And became a VTubing kitty cat about it all. And it's just the damnedest thing. And another... I don't know how to feel about not feeling alone, even during periods when I am alone. I thought that was a story you tell yourself. Lies that you say to help yourself feel better during times when you're alone. It's like, oh, well, actually, I don't mind being alone. I like having personal time. Or whatever. But actually to be able to be quite content and personally fulfilled, intrapersonally fulfilled. Like you're not really missing anything. And I've always been missing something in my entire life. And I found it, and then I was extra missing it. And there's details to all of that. Like we are not going into the details, but there's just I felt awfully alone. And I don't know how to feel about not feeling alone anymore. And sometimes lately, I catch myself trying to be sad by habit. Today, I felt sad out of habit. I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to do that, and everything was just, yeah. And it's like Valentine's Day, and I don't have anyone to apply ministrations to me. I don't have anyone to go out with or anyone to bring home. And yeah. And then shortly before getting into VR, I just had like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't who I am. Immediate sense of clarity. Like, oh yeah, it's not who I am anymore. Like, what am I doing? Like, I just, like, straight up, like, woke up out of, like, a tiny little daze, and it didn't even last for very long. And I looked around my room, and it's, like, a little mess. Like, I gotta make my bed, and I have, like, my little dirty clothes pile, but not as bad as it sometimes gets. And I had, like, fed myself dinner. I've been taking care of myself. And I just looked around my slight little space and, like, remembered, like, this is where I'm at. This is my room. This is, like, my bed. I live here. I, like, pay rent. I have food in the fridge. This is what, when I walk through the, like, I go to the, like, this is my life, this is what I have, we're good. I was just feeling super angsty, and, oh, this is not who I am, and out of it, super duper, just, you are correct. This is not who you are. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what comes next. Because I have never felt that freedom. Ever. Not even when I was with Nightmare. And I wish I hadn't christened him with that name. But I feel like it might be a tribute. I don't know. Whatever. Because that was still a really charged situation. And I hate being in love. It sucks so much ass. It sucks. Like, you can only think about them, and then what if they don't, and did you say the wrong thing? And then you're really, like, looking forward to seeing them, but then that's all you can think about, and, like, that just sucks, dude. Like, that is... so much energy has to go into that. And relationships generally are just a lot. But being in love, like... hoo boy. I kind of want to say no thank you to that. That's just a bummer, dude. I forgot why. No idea why I brought that up. Oh yeah, even while I was deeply in love, and I've been in love before, there was more to the story, but even during the peak of being ultimately complete, there was never tranquility there. Because there was a lot of life factors still. And things are settled down. Things are chill. This is a casual sort of, like, ease of living, I suppose? Where you're not fighting in your head to exist? For the right to exist? Fighting in your life and the people I'd surrounded myself with for my ideas because they were always shot down or weaponized. After having come from a golden little year cumulative where ideas were celebrated and electric. And now, my ideas are electric again. A little bit more like, I don't want to say like lightning in a bottle, but my videos are bottles and my words are lightning. They're a little more annoying at this point, though. And I used to, like, cherish my ideas. I used to love them. And, like, oh, it's a new mechanism. It's a new, in one of the videos recently, I talked about, being your own jailer and your prisoner, and you have to break free, but also, can you just allow yourself to be free? Can you flip it? What does that look like? And coming to that thought was a huge, huge one. I loved that thought. It was one of the earlier thoughts. And I loved it so much. Such a good thought. And I used to get really excited. That was an electric thought. And being able to generate that thought on my own, that was huge. And so then I dial all the way in on how was I able to generate that thought? What was the thought process that went into the creation and the excavation of that thought? And so how can we excavate more thoughts? So it's that meta thinking that brings us to Phineas Former. Sorry about the meta thinking. Yeah, and my thoughts used to be super duper electric, and I was excited for every single one of them, because every one of them is another tool in the bank. Because life was not livable. Second by second. I mean, there was some pretty dicey stuff going on. Those were several years of pretty bad days in a row. And every little piece to help get out, to get to the next thing, to get through the days a little bit better, was immensely valuable. And for a while, my ideas were my only saving grace. And I didn't know what to do with, like, the jailer and captor thing or whatever. I just knew that it was an idea that had some heft to it, and I might be able to employ that logistic another time. And I threw it in the bucket with all of my other logistics. And I didn't have very many, but they grew, and I got more logistics and more ways to process emotionality and thought processes to run through. And now I'm in a new emotional challenge. Here's all of the thought exercises I have so far. Which ones apply? oh, these apply a little bit, but it breaks a bit, so what part is breaking? And all of these tools had helped me break incomprehensible problems into smaller tangles that you still have to chew on, but they're not incomprehensible anymore because I've done so much work building out little emotional systems, which was the only thing I had during the past 10 years of my life. But those ideas, which used to be electric, and are still, now though they're kind of commonplace, and I'm not forming them anymore. They are formed. I'm here. It's cool. I'm not building out more. Like I have enough mechanisms. I'm good. We're good on the mechanism front. No more emotional. We're set. And so now they're just kind of annoying. Like, I don't have to think about you anymore. Why are you still here? All of my bizarre thoughts. And so I like videos because I can just, like, get the thought out. And it's like, all right, you live over there now. I'm done with you. I have no more need of you. But then it's in a video and I can just go back to it whenever I want, but also it's just in my head so much. But it feels fun that I can just, like, hey, go away. And they're like pests. Not pests, but they pester me, you know? And for something that used to be all that I had to now be so commonplace as to be just kind of unnecessary, it's kind of in my way, like, you're taking up room right now, I don't need this. So I'm clearing out the survival mechanisms that helped me survive that I no longer need. I've automated a lot of these things that used to be deep levels of intentionality were required in order to employ, can I allow myself to be free, opposed to breaking free. And I had to, that was like meditation, and I had to, that was deeply intentional stuff, and I've kind of internalized that one. That one's good, that one's free, we're good, get out of that. And I'm just eschewing some of these, some of what it is that it took to get here. And I've never been on the other side of that. Ever. And even during that about year or so where I was not alone, no, I don't know. I don't yet know enough of my current situation to be able to compare it to where I've been previously. What I do know is that not even 10 years ago was life easy. Being together was easy. Parts of it were radically easy and excellent. But for the first time since then, life is excellent now. And more parts of it are easy. And it seems odd, maybe, to not know what to do with that. Because by all rights, when I say all this stuff out loud, it feels like it should be liberating. Oh, I no longer have to worry about all of this stuff. Life has become easy. Is that not terrifying to you people, though? Because first of all, Phineas Former is now loose in the world. I exist. Everyone hold on to your butts, like... This is the darkest timeline. What? I don't even know. But I've never been in a period of life of casual comfortability with myself, ever. Barring a year. And not even relying like, oh, I feel like myself in the company with another, and that's not even the right language to use there either, but yeah, well, I think we'll hit that for a little bit. We'll qualify a little bit of that. Gosh, I didn't actually even think I'd go into detail at all. It feels right to do service to the thought, though, and this is actually, of course, the first video of utilizing all of this. It didn't feel like I was complete during that time, 10 years ago. If anything, it was a little bit more like we completed a higher system. And it was pretty fun. It was neat. And I'm not part of such a higher system now. I don't anticipate that ever again. That's not even a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That's like a, it happened once. How I characterize it, at least, in my head. It feels a lot like God fucked up when... it hurt a lot. But the knowledge I have of the operations of such a higher system has done a lot to inform how I feel about communications between people, and what is possible, both what humans are capable of, and then what's possible when humans work together. And where words are one of the chief ways to be able to facilitate communication between people, how can you best use words to allow for as grand of communication as possible? Because I couldn't ever hope for anyone, I could hope against anyone ever finding that kind of a connection again, because that'll just ruin your life if you let it, if you even make it as far as I have in the first place. But because there's some really cool things that are possible when people work together. And I don't know. It's fun being content without that connection while having the absolute knowledge that it's of it. And I used to not be able to handle it or manipulate it or address it because there's misery there and sorrow and extreme amounts of pain, and being happy is still really hard. It sucks. It sucks so much ass. But I'm... That's kind of the only thing that there is to say. Because I don't know what comes next. And I've always known what comes next is more of the same. More of like foot down, one after the other, seconds at a time, and then eventually you're living life like, ooh, minute at a time. And now I'm just kind of living. And I don't know what happens next. And I'm dropping all of these things I needed to survive. And I'm experimenting with being mindful at work in my daily operations. If I have to ride my bicycle to work, I used to get kind of mad about that and indignant because why do I have to ride my bicycle to work? And now I'm just kind of like, well, I'm riding my bicycle. Okay. I'm at work. Okay. Who says that? What? Who says that? Okay. Move on. I missed my bus and usually I'd get really mad about that. And I'm like, okay. Be home later. And sometimes it's like a lot depending on the schedule. It'd be like I'm home an hour later now and I've missed karaoke with my new VR friends or whatever. And that used to deeply agitate me, and it would ruin me, at my worst, it would have ruined me for weeks. But to immediately, okay, sure, we'll get home when we get home. It'll be all right. Okay. No idea what's happening to me. And I don't know what happens next. And I'm clearing out room in my head, all of these things I just don't need anymore. I don't even know what I'm making room for next. No idea. I have some ideas. Because this channel, I'm remembering a bit more of its identity. I'm learning a bit more of its identity. And in this channel, I'm trying to express more of my identity. And then the other channel, I've got just kind of like my more fun thoughts. And then I'm also still cooking on like, just with my other plans with VR, I suppose. But then I'm also taking plenty of time to just care for myself and have these kinds of ruminations. And it does take a decent amount of self-care to be in a position to sort out these thoughts enough to be able to present them in video form. And that's a lot of time where I'm not doing VR and I'm not playing games and I'm not hanging out with friends and I'm not drinking and I'm just being intentional. And it just seems kind of strange being lost because I'm not in a bad place anymore. And double strange that I, like I said earlier, I was pissed off in my room today, just yeah. And then it's like, what am I doing? That's not who I am. Immediately out of it. So I don't know who I am still. Except for this, a little bit. But I do want to press forward a bit. I think we've covered a lot of groundwork, and I don't only want this to be what this video has been so far, because I did come into this with a bit of a point. And even if the point was only to get an emotional painting out, the painting is not complete. Because if you'll recall, the video started with talk of Valentine's Day. And I don't think we're bringing back in the divorce to it. I think that was just kind of like a framing device for things have not been fantastic for the past 10 years. And the fact that it's Valentine's Day itself, doesn't apply to the setting at all. But the important thing is, by beginning with Valentine's Day and talking about some of the relationships I've been in, all of that was framing for the important thing to describe, which is the logistic in my head about I don't have, in the past, for the past 10 years, I haven't had anyone to support me, or I haven't received love from anyone. Yeah. So, is it possible to love yourself? And in what ways can you care for yourself in the way that you would wish someone else could care for you? And it would be nice to know if someone bought me a pint of ice cream. Can you buy yourself a pint of ice cream? And how is that possible to make that work and feel emotionally good? Just in what ways can you care for yourself? And that got me pretty far. Thinking about, how can I treat myself the way I would like someone else to treat me? And when I had that friend, that first real talk I had with my friend last night, where I saw myself being Phineas Former, aka being me, realized the missing step because we had a few shared experiences. And so we had like a, hey, dead loved ones bro fist moment, and he was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, let's just, and he's like, wait, what? And I was like, what? And he's like, oh. And then we just totally casually were able to vibe in a way that people typically don't. It was a marvelous time, even if I did turn a little bit into a VR kitty cat in the real world. And I'll make a fun video about that at some point too. I think that's a fun story. Gosh. But his loss is a lot more fresh than mine. And every loss is going to be a little bit different. And so hearing his perspective on it, and their relationship was a little bit different, but it really put into perspective a missing piece of some of the thought experiment that has brought me here. Because for 10 years I'd been holding on to, if I don't have anyone who loves me, how can I love myself? In effect. And all of it is centered on how can I treat myself the way I would like someone to treat me. But the further step that I do not know, I do not understand how it works, if it's possible, I'm at a loss. Like, I haven't even begun chewing on it because I think I'm done chewing on thoughts. I don't care. I don't care. And maybe it's just like I'm content on my own now, so I don't need to think through this one. But it's interesting, and I don't know what it means, if it means anything at all. But the further step, the one that I only even recognized exists last night, is it's not enough to how could I treat myself the way I would want to be treated by a loved one. We have to go deeper. And the further element to it, the as far as I can theorize, the most complete that thought goes, is how could you inhabit the traits of a person who wants to treat you the way that you would want to be treated? In effect, I can buy myself a pint of ice cream successfully with intent, I want to go home and I want to be able to have ice cream when I go home. And then when I go home, completely forget. I can just conveniently forget that I'm the one who had to buy myself ice cream. And I can I have ice cream and I'm sad. And it's even more sad if I remember I am the only one who loved me enough to be able to know enough to be able to buy me ice cream or whatever. But I can pull off that trick pretty good. And how to care for yourself. But the deeper trick is how to want to care for yourself. How to be someone and to carry the types of character traits that I want to have ice cream. I want to take care. VR chat's not responding? Really? Interesting. That is only the second time that has ever happened. Interesting. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. We're going back roughly to the framing that we had, but that's interesting to me. Oh, that's only happened one other time. That's only happened one other time. That's interesting. Oh, okay, so we're going to, change gears completely. This framing is going to be good. Actually, we're going to do windmills? Gosh, I don't even know. Oh, that's interesting. Alright, this is going to be good enough. Oh, that's wild. Is the recording still good? That's insanity to me right now. What on earth? Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean? What? Okay. Huh. What? What? The... Alright, I choose to receive that as the end of the video then. Yeah, I'm happy enough with the video. I feel like I've said what needs to be said. And VRChat has only ever not responded one other time. It was in the middle of a video that I had... I receive this as it's time for this video to be done. So, yeah, that's my video. A little bit abrupt of an ending, but VRChat didn't respond, and I take that as a symbol. That's a sign that it's time for the video to be done. Strange one, but an honest one. An ultimately honest expression of self. Thanks for watching.